Hey everybody, my name is Rydell Danzy. This is something that we've been looking forward to bringing to you. This is something brand new, but not new to the state of Nevada. We are introducing the new WHIN podcast. Like I said, my name is Rydell Danzy. I am the president of WHIN. And Davin, would you just go ahead and introduce yourself?
Yeah, my name is Davin Sundvik, vice president of WHIN, and what do you want in our introductions?
That was fantastic.
Okay, that's all we're doing.
That's all we're doing. We have Mr. Ron over here to our right. He's our producer. We're out here in the Battleborn Ducker studio. And thanks for letting us use this space, Mr. Ron. You do have some skin in the game too, though. So can you just tell everybody who you are as well?
Yeah, my name's Ron Stoker, huge fan of WHIN.
And that's how we do it here, boys and girls. And to our left, we have one Mr. Nicholas Gully. Nicholas, not even your name. Do we just call you Nick?
Let's call me Nick.
Is it actually Nicholas?
It's Nicholas.
It is Nicholas.
To
That's
any
my guy.
4-letter word.
I'm going to start calling you Nicholas from now
There
on.
you go.
Nicholas.
There you go. I'll come to anything. But my name's Nick Gully, and I've been a proud member of WHIN since about 2020. I've known about WHIN since the mid-'90s through some fellow duck hunters, one of them being Andrew Cummins, who was the originators of this organization. I retired from my law enforcement career in 2020 and met Ron Stoker, and I went full in as a volunteer with WHIN when I saw what they were all about. Everything about conservation, helping our kids, getting women and other folks involved in a sport that they would never know about unless it was from organizations like WHIN.
The only person I see more committed is somebody on fentanyl.
I appreciate that. I appreciate that.
That's why it's called Marsh Addiction, right?
Oh, yeah. Tell us a little bit about Marsh Addiction.
So Marsh Addiction is my nonprofit that came under the wings of WHIN, and I started that in approximately 2023. And it was a way for me to reconnect with first responders and military personnel who could be struggling with, let's use PTSD as an example, and they still want to get out in the field, but they're having some issues with not wanting to be alone in the field, or they just want to be able to bond with other people that have experienced life situations that not most of Americans experience. So I started Marsh Addiction. We get out in the field and we get after it. I don't care if we're hunting. I don't care if we're doing conservation work with WHIN. If we're fishing, we could be just hiking and talking. That's what Marsh Addiction is all about for me. And it's another outlet for me.
There you go. I love that. I love what it is that you're doing. I love that you're giving back. I love that we are getting people out there as well. And it makes the community a better place. It makes us better people. And it gets us up and out and about. Now, we keep saying WHIN, but we actually haven't talked about what WHIN is, what it even stands for.
Or why we're doing a podcast.
Yeah,
Why are we here?
Why are we here, Davin? What does
Sure.
WHIN stand for?
Existential
Absolutely.
question, Davin.
Yeah. So
Don't be a
WHIN,
Baptist.
WHIN stands for Wildlife Habitat Improvement Nevada. What we do is we connect pretty much a wide variety of conservation groups that might be species specific, and we round up volunteers for them. We try to get funding. We look for projects that is going to help not just a singular species, but the entire ecosystem as a whole. So I think we've been described oftentimes as the center where a lot of the spokes are, right? The center of that wheel. So
Yeah. Yeah, the thing I love about WHIN is like if you have an idea or a dream, we're not gonna crush you. We're gonna try to do the best we can to like make that come to pass, whether it be a small other NGO or a large NGO. We're here for the whole spectrum. There's NGOs that are massively bigger than us, and they have a lot more funds than us. But
Oh, yeah.
we're here for all of them. And the beautiful thing about doing a podcast is like people don't like when people go, "Hey, you're with WHIN? Oh, awesome! I love that casino." And we're like, "No, we're WHIN with an I and an H, not a W, and only one." Anyways, it gets confusing. So the whole dream of the podcast, I was talking to Rydell and Davin, was to give a long talk platform to say what we actually do and to bring on the heroes of WHIN, the big money people, the people that are donating hunts, the the guys like giving their blood, sweat, and tears and life to it, like Nick, right? And then like the guys raising young families like Davin and like jumping in as vice president. It's a huge obligation. Or the people like Rydell that is putting his reputation on the line for the club constantly, like by bringing in marketers and other staff. Like there's it's such a beautiful intricate weave that like you can't like you're like, well, what does WHIN do? And you're like, well, I don't like. Do you have like a whole day and a half for me to talk to you?
Yeah.
The
about
question
how much I love
really
it?
should be, what don't we do?
Yeah.
Really, at this point, I mean, from what I've seen in the last 5 years, let's take Rydell, for example. Military personnel veteran of our United States military. And he also has been an actor. So he brings that talent to us. And then marketing. He, along with Davin, we have so many talented people in this club that we can bounce things off of. If we don't have the answers, we will find them out because we have that personnel in our club that drop of a phone call. We've got it. So it's just amazing to what we can't get involved in. We're involved in everything from the Ducks and Donuts is how really I got involved with Ron through the Department of Wildlife. I'm not a big horn sheep guy until the last year. NDOW invited a few of our members to partake in a sheep capture where we traded sheep for turkeys with the state of Utah. Because of our dedication with and our working relationship with NDOW, we were invited to that. That was a personal invite to only certain groups of the state of Nevada. I'd never been part of a bighorn sheep event like that. I don't hunt them. I didn't eat them until this last Friday. But
Davin's fault.
yeah, I went on a sheep
Where's
capture.
my liver?
I actually have it.
It's
in my
usually your
freezer.
lower upper right section.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, you're
I actually
fine.
have it. So if you're going to be at the next WHIN meeting, I'll bring it.
Okay.
But text me right beforehand
Oh,
because
Lord.
I'll forget.
So go
Nick knows. I've been trying to get him that slice for like 3 months.
Yeah. So I went to the sheep capture through WHIN and NDOW and went hands on. I mean, we're bringing these animals in and we're being citizen scientists with the vets that are employed by NDOW. So I get to go hands on, and I mean, they're on this table right here, and we're cooling them down, we're inoculating them, we're checking them for everything before we get them shipped off. And I said, this is one beautiful animal. I could see why people are addicted to this. We have a bighorn sheep here in our podcast room. I don't know if you guys can see it, but it's a beautiful animal. Then I made the mistake of taking a piece of meat from my friend Davin on Thursday or Friday of last week after we did a little striper fishing to get away from everyone. And I ended up putting in for my first U tag
There you
this
go.
year because the meat was so delicious. And I hunt to eat.
It's one of my favorite foods or types of meat is sheep, goat. Anything in that realm, it's like perfection.
Yes.
So a lot of people, they're just going after the horns, and I'm like,
Right.
give me your meat, I'll take it,
Right.
and it's delicious.
And you being the originator of Field to Grill, I just did a little salt and pepper, hot cast iron, a little bit of Worcestershire, and that was it. I cooked it medium at best, right? Because I can't eat it rare. I just couldn't. And I'm a big fan of antelope. And I'll tell you what, it knocked that antelope off to the next level for me because I really enjoyed that piece of meat. So thank you for getting me involved in that. And now I got another addiction.
Yeah, you're very welcome. Well, I was. We were just talking with the president of the Fraternity of the Desert Bighorn Sheep Foundation, which was also a biologist and was with Endow forever's already retired.
Pat Cummins,
Yes, sir.
related to Andrew Cummins. Back to WHIN. But go ahead.
Oh, for real? I didn't know that.
Yes,
Yeah.
sir.
Oh, but they're expecting to give out a lot more tags this coming up season as well because they didn't get enough killed off last year for the conservation. So you might, you're probably going to be like in the best situation than anybody's had until this past year. So 268.
That would be an interesting podcast. I'd like to talk about that, the dynamics between conservation when it comes to hunting versus relocation of a specific animal. And Pat, we're going to have to get him on here.
Yeah, he's coming.
Is he? Okay.
Yeah.
He has an interesting argument about like relocation, that it does more harm because there's more of a die-off.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, so
You just relocate them to my backyard.
Teaser is coming.
It's interesting because, again, part of WHIN, one of my jobs is to go to the state-run citizen advisory boards, the cabs. So I sat in the Clark County cab along with the Lincoln County cab about a week and a half, 2 weeks ago, and listened to the proposed quotas that were going to go up to the state. And when I had heard what they were going to do with the sheep, at the Clark County cab, Pat had spoke about it and how much stress the animals are under when they get chased by the helicopter. They're running for their lives, and there's a myopathy that's related to anytime these animals are chased.
Yeah.
And they have to be concerned about that. And I think the proposed number is about 150 to 153 animals they're going to try to capture in the next year or so, as budgets allow them now, and move somewhere up north. We are going to trade again with Utah. But it was interesting to hear the scientific facts from an actual biologist. That's his love. Mine is waterfowl. His is sheep.
Yeah, he loves sheep as much as you love
loves
waterfowl.
them. And because of an organization like WHIN, I would have never attended something like that.
100%.
And I'm now being educated on something that I had no clue about.
Like, I didn't even know I liked it.
And it all became because of WHIN.
Well, that goes back to what you said originally when somebody said, well, what does WHIN do? You said, well, what don't you do? And what I like about WHIN, actually what I love about WHIN, you have all of these different other organizations that are very much pinpointed in what it is that they're doing. But then it's not that we're all over the place, but we have our hands, we have our feelers out there and plugging people into what you might like or what you might like. And it might not have anything to do with hunting, might not have anything to do with fishing, because we've been getting people reaching out saying that's not my bag, but I want to help because I do care about the community and or I do care about the animals. So yeah, I love that aspect out of it. And same thing with the Desert of Bighorn Sheep. I would have never have gone until I went to their actual banquet, because for me, like, we didn't have sheep growing up in Alabama, not on a night you go hunt with. But I was like, I was thinking it was like a mountain goat hunt. Like, I'm not doing that. I was like, oh, they're right there. So here I am.
And then you hear the common wise tell that they don't taste good, you know? And that
Keep telling them that, please.
People say that all the time.
they say that about everything.
They say it about everything.
You know, and that's one of my favorite things I have a write down in the group is he's like, I'm going to prove everybody wrong.
Yeah, I still haven't found a way to make coot taste good, but other than that, oh, he's laughing. But other than that, I would say most people would benefit from learning how to handle their meat, like literally learning what to do after the kill. Most people, they go to the gun range, right? They sight on their rifle, right? And they don't know how to cook.
I'm going to tell you how to make coot taste good.
Oh, here we go.
Mix it with enough pork.
No. If you're going to make summer sausage, yes.
Make summer sausage out of it. It's a good filler.
You put it on the dehydrator and then you feed it to the dog.
All right, so quick story, like you were talking about. So I took out the lead investigator for Las Vegas. Lead investigator for the DA. First time hunting, blah, blah, blah. Took him out, and we went duck hunting, and we were out there sitting. He was missing all the ducks except for my decoys. He was shooting them. And then at the end of the day, I was like,
decoy if you don't have a little rattle.
I was like,
Titanic.
And Tink, my dog, she was like, I haven't done anything. I've just been sitting here watching you guys. So it was getting close to the end of shooting light, and I said, look, we can either wait on that one duck that we've been waiting for, or we can shoot these coot. And he said the same thing. I heard people say it didn't taste good. And I said, well, it depends on how you want to cook it. So at the end of the day, you got a 2-man limit immediately.
Which is 50 birds.
Yeah.
You got 50 coots? Or you got 14?
No. We got a 2-man limit.
Whoa.
So
it's a lot of meat.
They all came in on us. And so Tink, she was even grabbing them and then like swimming back, and then one would still be alive, and she would drop that one and go and get the one that was alive. So we were out there all pulling the coots out.
I don't know. Rock likes to play how many can I fit in my mouth. Come back, it's like 3, new record.
At the end of the day, I let him take them. I took what I was going to take, cleaned them up. He took them home. Him and his whole entire family ate them, and he eats them all the time now.
Wow.
Because he hadn't been tainted, besides somebody saying, oh, coots aren't good. He had never had it before. Now, he likes the ducks better, depending on what kind of duck it is.
Who doesn't like the ducks better?
Yeah,
I like flaming young better than duck also.
He likes the coots. I like the coot. And you can do other things with it, especially like I know you guys will spend extra money for protein for your dogs during hunting season. But if you take those coots livers and the hearts and then the tongues, grind it all up, puree it, that's all the protein you need. Just throw it in what you normally feed them. You're
And
good
you
to go.
don't have to dehydrate it.
No, you don't
You
at
just
all.
keep it in the freezer. You pick it out. You
Yeah.
throw it in. The dogs will eat the frozen
They
chunk.
love
They
it.
love it.
It's
Yeah.
better for them than all this processed other stuff.
And if
it's
you
less than
dehydrate, you lose
$75.
nutrients.
Yeah.
You know, a
Right.
fresh raw meat is the best thing for your animal.
Right.
If your animal can handle it. If you give your Chihuahua a liver for the first time, it's gonna crap all over your house. They have to
Yeah,
they have to have the gut help
cleaner.
for it.
Yeah. Well,
So for a guy who doesn't have a hunting dog, they have to eat more protein during the hunting season. Is that
well,
what
it's
I'm
just
hearing?
like you when you go work out. If you're going to do it heavy, you get hungrier, right?
Mhm.
And then you eat more protein if you're trying to build muscle, if you're like actually training.
Yeah.
So you're going to do that instead of just eating a bunch of bread and carbs.
Gotcha. Yeah.
Yeah, dog food's just bread and carbs
Yeah.
essentially. Yeah. So the better in, the better out, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like Rock's putting on weight right now, but I know he'll lose it during hunt season. So
Well, going back to the original comments about WHIN and what we're all about, we're sitting here talking about dogs, dog health, feeding. We have two people that I know of, Mr. Fowler, who just began his own dog training. Why don't you give Scotty a shout out?
well, that's another thing with WHIN. Scott brought us a passion project, and
Mhm.
he'll be on the show again.
Yeah, he's
teaser.
coming on the show.
Another teaser. He brought in a passion project. He's like, hey, listen, and we all love Scott Fowler. He's like, I want to bring kids and dogs together without egos. I want to do good stuff for veterans and other stuff. And so, a lot of these hunt retriever trials, dog trials, are very ego based.
Yeah.
And there's a heavy use on shot collars, and it's just it doesn't feel like a good environment. And I've ran Rock through these. Rock has his junior title, and my kids have ran him, and Mitchell's ran him. And it's just not a fun environment. Now, what
No.
Scott does is HRC. It's a lot more relaxed, a lot less technicality on the dogs, but you still have that aspect of hunting and retriever trials.
Right.
And so as Scott, he brought it to us. He's like, hey, I'd like to have WHIN help me with this. And so we did help him fund his club.
Okay. And
anybody will be able to go. It doesn't have to be a purebred. And AKC, it has to be an AKC dog. HRC, you could bring, if you've got a German short-haired shepherd, pit bull, Rottweiler mix that will chase a bird down, it could be at the HRC trials. In the story,
so
right?
it's a sport for everyone.
It's a sport for everyone. Everybody's allowed to come and like enjoy their dogs out there.
Just like WHIN.
Yeah.
Just like WHIN.
And so
he's also doing obedience too. So if
Yeah.
you do have a dog and it is that Chihuahua that's crapping, you can bring your Chihuahua and get some good old fashioned obedience training too.
Okay.
Yeah, it's just like attracts like, right? And so with
Yeah.
the WHIN, I think we have a little bit of ego in WHIN, but for the most part, it's a bunch of guys that like to be around each other and like to work hard and like to chase their own passions, right? And that's what this HRC club is going to be like. And like I know Rydell's been out to the AKC clubs and it's fun, right? But you have to deal with a lot of ego.
Yeah, it was fun, but the fun was zapped out of it. It was. That's why I stopped going. And they were like, "Well, why don't you do this with her? Why don't you do that?" I was like, "This is going back to a boy and his dog. When you're like 5, 6 years old and you get your first pup, you are just out running in the field and it's just you and that dog, and you're gone all day long. That's how I still
BB
operate.
guns and starlings.
Yeah.
Back in the Midwest for me.
But
I
there-
rode my GSP out in the woods. Yeah,
There,
you're
they
right.
were like, it almost seemed like they had a disconnect from their dog. Like the dogs were awesome. They're doing what they were
Oh,
supposed to be doing.
I can tell you
but
about
there
your
was
dog.
No.
Tink is a very smart dog, and that's who Rydell has. I had Tink with me before Rydell did. Tink would consistently fail field trials because they'd launch the bird over a dike, and Tink would be like, "There's a road, you dummies.
Oh yeah.
I'm not going to run a straight line. I am going to run through the crowd. I'm going to run the whole dike, and I will go get the bird, and I'll run back down the road back to you." And they're like, "No, it has to be a straight line. They're not running a straight line. You're going to get shocked."
Right.
You know? But
Yeah.
Tink was just too smart.
And she does that while we're actually out hunting. This past season on the first day out, 7-man limit within 2 flyovers. 7-man limit, 1-man limit within
We know
2
you know.
flyovers. And so I was like, oh, she's working really hard. They were like way out there. I was like, oh, I didn't want it to be this hard on you. But she did the same thing like you just said. Instead of going through that muddy area after she went through it the first time, she went back out, and for 3 more birds, she came all the way back. She took the easiest path to swim. I don't know how she knew how it was easy to get up on a bank, hit the road, and then ran all the way back to me with the birds.
Nice.
And
What
for
was
me,
that?
that's
What was
working.
that?
That was at Overton.
Okay.
Yeah, this is a functional dog. Like if you want, like in Rock, Rock will. The problem with him and AKC is he drop the bird. He'd get
Mhm.
back to me, drop the bird at my feet, and be like, "Okay, where's the next one?" And that's what I want from a hunting dog. I don't want. I mean, some people want him to hold them in the mouth all day long, but that
Yeah.
was not important to me.
Right.
So
But there's such a difference in the sport when it comes to what they're doing. They're building high-end professional dogs.
Exactly.
We want dogs with personalities,
Hmm.
right? We want the dog that's going to lay at our feet while we're sitting there having dinner and watching TV and being calm. But as soon as that front door opens to go to
Yeah.
that truck, you're putting on the camouflage.
Yeah.
That dog is on, and she's on until the moment she gets home. And they want, for lack of a better term, a robotic dog.
Hmm.
Perfect every time. I'm not perfect. I'm
Yeah.
going to miss birds. I'm not going to expect that dog to maybe screw up a retrieve or take an easier route or
Mhm.
something that's a little.
and I'm not judging for her. That's their passion.
Yeah,
Right,
I'm
that's
not
a
saying
passion.
it's bad. I'm
Yeah.
saying for me, it wasn't for me. It wasn't.
Yeah.
It wasn't. I found it not fun. I didn't find like it was going to build a stronger bond with my dog besides the drive up.
Yeah, it doesn't take
You're
anything
right.
away. It just adds another opportunity for somebody who wants a different style of doing something.
Yeah.
Yeah, I really thought when I started dipping my feet in the water of that sport, it was going to be something to do off season. And I've trained
Yeah,
dogs since I was
exactly.
a kid. My dad used to raise GSPs. Then I went to the Golden Game here, 1998, and this is my fifth one. And I got this Golden based off going to an HRC event where I was a shooter for them. And I do see the difference in that.
You were
type
at
of sporting
AKC
dog.
event.
Okay,
Yeah.
AKC. I can't even spell it.
You're good.
But when I'd seen those dogs really work, I mean, it's impressive.
Oh, it is. Yeah.
It is. But to have an offspring from, can I give a plug out to all
Yeah.
around retrievers? Tim and Shannon Ruiz out of Logandale, Nevada. I have one of theirs. She's now 3-year-old golden retrievers, and it is out of the 5 I've owned, the best dog I've ever owned.
Mm.
And she comes from top-notch breeding, and I can tell the difference spending the money I spent on her versus going $750 in somebody's garage dog
Yes.
that you could take and turn in. They all have the instinct.
Mhm.
You just got to bring it out of them. There's a night and day difference. But I did run her in a couple practice field trials,
Okay.
and I didn't want to put the stress on her because
yeah.
I didn't want to take that personality away from her.
Mhm.
And that's
That
my
makes
personal
sense.
choice.
I think the difference is, and like someone said it best, you could tell the people that keep the dogs in the front of their trucks and in their hotel rooms versus
Yep.
in the kennels.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Like when we go up swan hunting, the dogs are in the hotel rooms. We don't get
Yeah.
a hotel room unless a dog can go in there with us.
Same.
First call is, you got a reservation for this date? And do you take dogs? And she stay in her room. Yep. Book it.
Yeah.
And these dogs have a tendency to come on all the events with WHIN.
Oh yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
I've brought Isle out on guzzler builds. Again, going back to not being involved in bighorn stuff, bighorn sheep projects. But I started doing guzzle builds about 3 years ago, and it's impressive. But I got to bring my dog.
Yeah.
And
It's an outing for the dog.
yeah, it's an
Yeah.
outing for the dog, and then everybody else that's out there.
Explain what you do on a guzzler build, Nick.
Yeah, this is one of the things that you, if you're not into the hunting, or if you're not into the fishing, this is another avenue.
No, this is I want Nick to talk specifically about his aspect and his job on a guzzler build, because a lot of people think it's intense manual labor, and Nick does something a little bit different on the guzzler builds.
Being an older person and the
Shut up
body's
with that.
hard- no,
He
fall
can go
apart
harder
with it.
than me. So start over.
So when I first started, I was grabbing rakes, shovels, picks, and we're moving earth to put these very large catch basins that will have a plumbing project that will go down to an underground container that's protected by the earth, and we put those in the ground, and it's pretty labor intensive. And sometimes we'll have to fence them off because of the feral horses.
Mm-hmm.
I will not use the word wild horses. There's no such thing, but we'll have to fence those off. So now we're building fence posts, and we're running fence wire. I did a few of those and found it was pretty tough to do, and there are a lot younger and stronger people than me. So I took on the job of, I feed everybody. I went out and purchased a 6x10 equipment trailer, fully enclosed, made it solar, and all of our cooking materials and some of our camping stuff and our fire building stuff goes inside what we've nicknamed the quack wagon. And the quack wagon goes everywhere with us. As soon as we get there, I'm the camp chef. Ron helps me out. We cook breakfast, lunch, and dinner for all of our volunteers that come to these events. And it's one of the ways that we keep them fed and hydrated. the camaraderie. We sit around the quack wagon or the campfire at night, and we talk about everything from hunting, fishing, to family, to religion and politics. We could solve the world's problems in one weekend of a guzzler build if the media would just come in and watch us, because we've got some great stinking ideas out there. Throwing a little 2-bitch bourbon, maybe some battle-born beer, and it really gets wild. But yeah, my portion of that, I think I'm a project manager is what my job title is. But I'll go out there and cook and clean up and help everybody keep doing the manual labor they got to do. Sometimes we got to go out there and fix tires. Guys are going up the mountains. Ron's been a victim of that because where we go is pretty tough. If you think you're going into remote places when you're hunting or scouting, go do a guzzler build. I mean,
Yeah, you go to the middle of nowhere and you go past that a little bit, and that's where you end up.
And you can't stop until the wind's blowing about 40 miles an hour and it's about 90 degrees out. So
there's no trees.
And there's no trees. But we make it comfortable for our volunteers, and we feed them and we keep them hydrated. And at the end of the night, and usually it's a 2-day type deal. We'll move out in here on Friday and we work Friday, Saturday, and come home Sunday. So these guys are really putting all their efforts on their days off with their families.
Spending their own gas.
And they're getting their families out into the parts of Nevada they would have never even seen, even if they were hunting, right? Because these guzzlers end up in the middle of nowhere.
That's what I love so much about it when we implemented that. And that's what I like about WHIN is because we have a good banquet, we make good money, but we spend it, right? We spend it on taking care of the volunteers and making a lifestyle with it. Like my kids love coming out, and we don't feed them like crappy food. It's like we're doing nice burgers and nice broths, and then we're doing a good pancakes, eggs, bacon, sausage for breakfast,
for lunches up on the mountain.
Yeah, really good sandwiches, and it makes it so that even though you're in immense pain digging through this guzzler, when you sit down to eat a sandwich and have a soda, man, it feels so good.
Oh, yeah. Right.
It's such a dopamine hit. And then it's like I said, it's the whole tapestry of WHIN. At the end of the day, it makes everything good.
Right. Yeah. And it goes back to it's just the melting pot of this organization. From the kids, the women, us, the older guys. Everybody has a different passion. It could be hunting, it could be fishing. It could be you love to cook. I know you like to hunt and fish, but your passion is cooking. Yeah. From what I understand. He brings that to the table. We go do the carp rodeo where at Pahranagat, and we catch a bunch of carp, and he throws them on the grill. Next, I wouldn't eat a carp. You'd like eating a coot. No, this guy made tacos. I'm like, give me some more of those, please. So it goes back to that talent. What people like Rydell bring into it. You got the marketing portion. You're a young gun, is what I call you. These guys like to call me a legacy. I follow these guys because they know what is happening today. I'm kind of old school. I bring that Gen X grumpy attitude to some of these projects. And I get behind these young guns and they make me younger, 15 years younger. And I learn from them things that I wouldn't have known because I would have been too closed off being by myself. I used to like to hunt and do all my conservation stuff on my own out of keep it. Yeah. Once I joined WHIN, totally opened my brain up to a lot of opportunities to meet some good people.
And ideas create ideas. So.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, it's also the networking of it. Why don't you tell what happened last year when our one buddy got blown across? Well, it wasn't even our friend. It was a friend of a friend that got blown across the lake.
Talk about
with the WHIN network.
Are we talking? Well, we had two situations. We had one on a fishing event through Woods and Waters, who we had to go rescue with, who was on a BP, who was on a what are they called? The flow tubes.
Oh yeah.
And then, or are you talking about Jimmy?
I'm just talking about the one we got a call. They rang into the WHIN network and they're like, "Hey, we have a friend that's stuck on a lake."
Saturday night about 11:30 at night, and it was cold. It was cold out. It's that weird time of year in the springtime where you leave Vegas and it's 65 to 70 degrees, and then you get up to Kirch and it's 55, and then the sun goes down and it's 38. And these guys, and they're older folks, and they were out fishing, and they're very experienced people. They know what they're doing. Well, the WHIN got a hold of the boat because the boat motor went down, and they're starting to make the phone calls, and they reach out to us at WHIN. And Ron reached out to me right away and says, "This is what we have. What can we do?" Retired law enforcement officer with Metro. Said, "Slow the momentum. Let me start making the phone calls and get our equipment
I was getting
rolling."
my truck to get on the boat.
Right. And everybody wanted to head north. And I said, hold on, let's make some phone calls. And
Well, that's the group of people we have. Everybody's like,
Right.
okay, let's get on the boats.
right. And
3-hour drive.
within 15 minutes, we had a group of about 8 to 10 people that were willing to head up to Kerch and rescue this older couple because their boat had broke down.
Wow.
And then Endow was in contact with us on a Saturday night. We were able to contact Endow because we had those connections with them. Hey, can we get somebody up here? And they were starting to send law enforcement up that way. The networking alone probably would have saved those two people's lives if it went south on them. They were able to get the boat fired up, get it over towards the dock, and then get off of that. But they made the right call by calling friends of WHIN, and we were all, let's do it.
Yeah.
Well,
So,
that's
yeah,
what we're sending it.
having cell signal. Yeah, I can tell you as somebody who's been stuck in the
This
woods.
was before WHIN, though, right?
No, I just joined WHIN.
Okay.
Just joined WHIN. Yeah, so it was like I wasn't even on the.
Did you
board
let
yet.
anybody in WHIN know where you're going?
No.
Okay,
No.
there you go.
So yeah. Don't. I'm the example of what not to do. Right now, but my family knew where I was. I did tell my family a plan of what I was doing, and I stuck to that plan. But when you're stuck there and it's going on day 2, and then suddenly that sun goes down, and you're like going on to day 3, you're like, well, I'm breathing, I'm okay. I don't want to wake up to a helicopter because I don't want to pay that bill. Like that's the thought that goes through your head because you're like, I've got like a month worth of food. Like that's how long it's going to take me to starve, probably more than that, you know?
Right.
So I'm like, you're praying for a dude in a truck. Like that is like what you need, right? And so yeah, that network is vital, right?
Yeah, and so like I know, and Nick said the same thing to me. Like before we were with WHIN, our wives would be like, "Hey, who knows where you're at?" And we're like, "I don't know. Call the game warden."
Yeah.
Like, no one. Where are you at? I'm at Key Pittman. That means nothing to me.
Right.
You know, as of now, like if my wife, if I went missing, she'd call Nick and be like, "Hey, where was he last?" And she'd be like, "Oh, he was at Daisy." And Nick would be like, "Okay, I'll go find him." Like, because he knows exactly where it's at.
Yeah.
You know, so you have that thing. Or if like someone called me, like Katie called me. He's like, "Hey, he's up at Jawbridge. This is where he said he's at." I'd be like, "Okay, I know like 7 people that know Jawbridge really well. Let's get up there and get them."
Correct.
You know?
And the technology is out there nowadays, you know, where
It's
we
getting
can-
a lot easier.
Right, and especially with the phones now, the way I understand some of the Apple products, they actually have a satellite on you.
now.
So
Right.
now,
I bought like, so when I became a dad, I bought the new iPhone.
congratulations.
Thank
by
you.
the way.
I switched from a Samsung to an iPhone because the iPhone came out with satellite connectivity sooner.
Boo.
I know, right? I'm telling you though, after switching to the dark side, I have a lot more peace of mind knowing that, like I said, like when you're out there and you're stuck, you'd much rather see a dude in a pickup truck than a helicopter coming over that horizon.
Yeah,
Because
yeah.
in case you don't know, like some counties will not send you a bill, but you are 100% responsible for that. Whether or not a bill is sent to you, like you caused damage to public
Yeah.
funds, like by getting stuck, you know. So you want that rescue mission to be as little as it can be, because if somebody's life was in danger, right, and they're going out to rescue you instead of that person, and
Yeah.
that person dies,
Yeah.
that's also on you too. So
Well, shout out to Garmin InReach.
yeah,
Right.
well, yeah, that's
Just,
existed
it's
for a while
You
too.
can still keep your Android.
What's the
Pay an extra monthly fee. And,
No, I'm on the Freedom Plan, is what it's called, and it's $14 a month, but I only use it during my seasons when I'm going out. So it might be 3 months out of the year is all I pay.
yeah,
for.
it's not that
So
bad,
you can
but-
suspend it.
Yep,
You're
you
not
just
using
suspend
it.
it, and it's a $0 payment every month.
Is
on
the
the
Freedom
invoice.
Plan part of a military veteran type deal?
I do not know if
Okay.
it is or not. It might be because it's called the Freedom Plan. But
I'm
that's
just
that's
asking.
just what I pay. So,
Okay.
and I've had that
It
since
sounds like
my
it's the
first trip
freedom
to
to choose.
Alaska.
Okay.
Freedom to choose.
choose the month you want to be active or not active?
I'm just saying, if you want to keep your Android, you don't have to get an Apple.
But
So-
Apple guys are in the front, Android's in the back, like normal.
Wait, there is something I wanted to bring up. Was you were talking about Endow and how they reached out, and then you also mentioned about people donating their time and going out there and spending their own gas. I don't want people to think that that's all it is. Is like spend $100 on gas for a whole week to come out and do this guzzler build.
Oh, it's way more.
There is.
Yeah, it's $1,500 in truck parts too.
But that all gets
Tow
repaid.
truck.
That all gets repaid not to the individual but to the state. You want to talk about that program, how they match the dollars?
Pittman Robertson funds, right? So let's just say an Endow employee is making $31 an hour, right?
Mhm.
That's a $60,000 a year salary, right, for a biologist, right? That gets matched 3-1. Well, actually, it's technically 4-1 because they match it 3-1 plus their salary, right? So
Mhm.
you're like, if you worked, let's just say in a year, which I know Nick's done probably over 500 hours, 600, 1,000,
A little over six,
a little over
6 and 7.
Yeah, I mean it's high, right?
That's a year.
Right.
That's a year. That's in
okay.
1 year.
So think of it this way: a working calendar is 2,000 hours, right? So if
Mhm.
Nick volunteers over 500 hours, he's paid for an entire employee's salary, right? But think of it, the efficiency. He didn't probably log all 600 hours because they're not all loggable, but
Right.
you probably volunteered 1,000 hours in order to get 600 or 700
Correct.
loggable, right? So let's be realistic there, but still the efficiency side of it, I mean, your hours are being multiplied against federal funds, which comes directly into the state. So you get multiple benefits from that. When those funds are in the state, those funds improve habitat in your state, and then animals respond to it, and then you get to go hunt more.
Yeah.
Correct.
Right. So if other people in other states are volunteering more than we are in our state, right, they're going to get more funds. They're going to get more animals.
Mhm.
They're going to be able to sell more tags, right, which generates more funds.
Correct.
So yeah,
Mm.
if you want to see more, if you want to draw more tags, like you got to go out there and like do your part. Yeah.
And that's something nobody ever talks about. I didn't even know until probably like the third year. It was when Michelle Lopez, right?
Yeah.
She came and talked. I was like, wait a minute, what? That's been a thing because I never put down any of my time, any of my hours, or any of that stuff. I was like, paperwork.
Correct me if I'm wrong here, Ron. I think a volunteer, and we'll use me as an example, is worth about $30 an hour.
You're about,
and then times that times 3.
with the triple match, you're about $106 an hour.
Right. So with that, just with one person, there's hundreds
Yeah.
of volunteers. We have volunteers that are teaching hunters ed, that are part of our group with WHIN, and they're bringing the new kids into the hunting
Mhm.
business by teaching hunter ed, but they fall under Endow's hunter ed program, right? So they're getting some money back from those hours that they log. I don't believe hunter's ed, correct me if I'm wrong, Ron, falls under PR. Pittman Robertson, I don't believe.
It does.
Okay, so then there you go. So every kid or woman or man that takes the hunter's ed class,
No.
And
If you
somebody-
teach it, it falls
teach it.
under. Taking it does not fall under.
right? But what I was going to follow up with that was, so let's say you have 5 individuals coming on Saturday, and then Dow needs a volunteer to teach them. Usually takes 2 people to teach that
Mhm.
class. 4-hour to 6-hour class times 3 for each person. That's what Endow's getting kicked back from the federal government. The beauty about WHIN is every dollar that's we generate through PR stays in the state of Nevada. I'm not going to sit here and bash Ducks Unlimited or Delta or any big organization. Great organizations, those flyways fall within our flyway. But a lot of that money goes up north to other states that we never see. All right, we get kind of forgotten about. WHIN fills in that gap. Desert Bighorn fills in those types of gaps where their money stays local, and that's important to a hunter like me. I mean, I moved here in 1984, and it's been 40 years, and this is where I hunt. This is where I fish. So I try to go with organizations that are going to put their dollars and their hard-earned hours into this state. I believe there's a Wasatch Widgeon organization in Utah, great organization, similar to WHIN. All their money stays in their state. That's important to locals like me. That's why we support local businesses, Battleborn Beer, Two Bitch Bourbon. Our local Bash Pro Shop has been very generous to us in the past. Anyone else you could think of?
Shout out to Bear Arms.
Bear Arms.
Yeah, Bear Arms. We're gonna have a whole podcast about how much they give and don't get.
Yeah.
Right.
So
And then Davin mentioned earlier about the spoke in the wheel. We work with a local. It's a. I call it a social group, Woods and Waters, but they're Nevada based and born and based, and we work with them. Sometimes they need money from us. We will give them for whatever projects they're doing or events, and vice versa.
Meadow Valley.
Meadow Valley, Corey Lytle. I mean, God, I think that guy outworks me, and he's got a full-time family and job.
Nevada Trappers Association.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, Joel Blakesley, Neil, and those
Cheney.
guys. Oh man.
The Las Vegas Safari Club.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, they all their money stays in Nevada too.
But see, when we're working with people like that, that's where the talent comes in so many different folds, right? And who benefits? The animals and the outdoors people of Nevada.
And
That's who benefits.
the future outdoors people, they are the biggest benefiters out of that.
Right.
Yeah.
And again, Ducks Unlimited Delta, they do great work. But there's not one paid employee in WHIN. I can't speak for SCI and all the other groups. We're all volunteers.
Yeah, I think what you're talking about is like the efficiency, right? Like of WHIN. Like if you and like you said, not to knock those national organizations because there's a big picture on a national level that WHIN's not at yet. But the details that we do, like if you want to see more animals in the state of Nevada, like your hours are going to count way more at WHIN than in most other organizations, I would say, or at least at some local level, right? Where funds are spent in the state that you're volunteering in, you know, because like you said, Ducks Unlimited, Rocky Mountain Elk Foundation, nothing wrong with those, but you're paying like a lot of your volunteer hours, right, are raising funds for CEOs' salaries, right?
Yeah.
You know, it's how it is, right? You know? And it's okay that that's how it is because those people those organizations spend a huge amount of money nationally.
Correct.
Branding, what else? What do you call it? Lobbying, legislative power, right? So there's nothing wrong with having both, right? Like there's no like, while there might be some infighting, it's like on disagreements, we're on the same team.
We're all on the same team.
It's all the same team. All of these different groups, it's at the end of the day, it's the same team, which I have seen a lot of different organizations butting heads and fighting against each other, trying to grab that same $1. When at the end of the day, you can share that dollar. Or it was like, you know what, you take the dollar today and I'll take it tomorrow.
Correct.
I'll give you $1 too.
There. Yeah. And that's the kind of attitude that I've always had. And I think that's the same way that WHIN has as well. The same attitude as it's all the same team.
It's an abundance mentality. You know, there's enough to go around. Like when it comes to conservation, we'll fund any other group that wants to start because
Let's go.
Yeah, because if you're gonna do something, I'm behind you. Because we could even if our group's super efficient, super effective, we have great volunteers, but we can only do so much.
Right.
So if you've got another modus operandi to do more stuff, let's go.
We're always got our ears open for somebody's project.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna give a shout out to a WHIN member, Tanner Bingham, who was not really a hunter until about 2019, 2020. He has a childhood friend who is a veteran, and his father was the originator of WHIN.
Also, Pat Cummins' uncle.
And Pat Cummins' uncle. So James Cummins had come back from the war and suffered some significant injuries. And as law enforcement officer with North Las Vegas, thank God. He wanted to get back into duck hunting. It was something he had done when he was a child with his dad. His dad suffered an injury and can't get out anymore, but still wanted his son to be involved. So he called up Glenn, who duck hunts with me all the time, and said, hey, these two kids want to get back into duck hunting, one of them being Tanner Bingham. Tanner took WHIN by storm. He came up with a project. It's a guy that doesn't know anything about duck hunting until 5 years ago. He came up with his entire floating island program that we've instituted out of Key Pittman to help raise ducks and geese in their natural habitat by assisting keeping rodents, vermin, and raptors off of the nest. This kid did this. This goes back to my young gun thing. He's 28 years old. Never really duck hunted until 5 years ago. 3 years ago, he started this project all on his own, and then Glenn helps him side by side. They're growing habitat in their own greenhouses.
And we're actually going to have Tanner come in and talk about that as well.
Yeah.
So he's going to be in. That's going to be one of the guests of the show.
Yeah. And it's talent like that this organization, I don't know how you do it wrong. I really don't. It's either your networking style because of your church.
No, attracts like. It's the way the universe works, Nick.
Whatever
your vibe attracts your tribe.
Yeah.
It's the way the universe works. It has nothing to do with me.
Yeah. Well, I disagree. But what you've done,
We'll fist fight about it later.
well, you win. You win. It takes too long to heal now.
I would bet on you.
But the
Next up,
the
cage
chem-
fight.
the chemistry that you have built with an organization that needed some stepping stones to come from the dark ages into where it's at today. I mean, we just had a 1,000-person banquet
Mm-hmm.
a month ago. What was it when you started with WHIN? How big was your banquet?
It was small.
Put a number on it.
200.
Put a
Under
number.
200.
It was under
Okay.
200.
Yeah.
Still generated money, put money back right into the state of Nevada.
Yeah.
But how long ago was that?
Like 2017, 2018 is when we started.
Mm-hmm.
So
In just a few short years, we're at 1,000-person banquet.
it's attractive. It's an attractive lifestyle. Like, and I didn't know when I got into it that it would be like this, right? Like
Yeah.
like not in a bad way, like in
No.
a very good way. Like 2017, that's almost 6 years ago, right? Not good at math, but
County School District kid right here with the core math kids.
yeah.
And
Anyways,
homeschools.
and I don't homeschool, dude. That's all my life. Anyways, we'll go on. That's a different subject. But like when I got into this, I didn't know how great of an organization this was to raise a family, because it attracted a tribe, right? It attracted a good team, and then that team now raises my kids. Like Nick got involved in Ducks and Donuts because I begged him to take my kids out because I have 5, and I have Mitchell and Avi that are older, right? And you took Mitchell out first. I had Mitchell that was older,
Right.
and it wasn't fair to him that the younger kids were going to ruin his hunt. And so I called Nick and said, "Hey, Nick, will you take my kids out?" Right? And so my tribe took my kids out, right? And then raising them out on these projects, I didn't see the benefit of it till later in life. Like my kids are gritty now. My
Yep.
kids know how to work a shovel. My kids know how to dig a hole. My kids know how to do tough things. My kids know how to spend the night in the woods. My kids like the dynamics, the way it has built up my family through this organization has been a godsend. I didn't know it was going to be this good, right? And then the banquet keeps getting bigger, better people are attracted, and like now hopefully Davin will raise his family in it, and Tanner will raise his family in it, right?
Correct.
And it'll give those attributes that people often complain about, like, oh, our kids have lost like the ability to use a shovel and they don't care about anything. All they want to do is video games. Well, they're gonna do whatever you're doing,
Yeah.
Correct.
right? And so, like, at the end of the day, you better look in the mirror. If you think your kids are self-serving and selfish, then maybe WHIN's a good place to start, to turn that family around, or to put some grit on those families. And it's not for everybody, but it's definitely a lifestyle for us. We don't do baseball. Mitchell does track, but our lifestyle, the Stoker House, is through conservation, hunting, and outdoors. And I didn't know WHIN was going to be the avenue for that, but now it is, and it's been awesome.
Well, from the outside looking in with you, what I am going to say is that everything that you just described, like you didn't know it was going to come out this way. You didn't know it was going to be that way.
Yeah.
That in the future, for some of the kids, it's going to be in the near future. For others, it's going to be in the far future. These are the things that they're going to remember more so than spending $7,000 to go to Disneyland. They're going to remember that. Or when they have their kids, they're going to be doing something, might be shoveling, digging a hole, and then they think about you, and it's like, oh, I remember the first time my dad did that with me. And that kind of stuff, you can't buy that. You can't buy that experience by going to Disneyland or Disney World or any of these other things, or just giving money to kids and saying, I hope you're happy. I hope you're happy. You're building men and women is what you're doing.
Yeah, well, WHIN is. And like Disneyland's great, but it is a fake experience to what you can experience in real life at WHIN. Like the Splash Mountain's great, but have you ever rode a helicopter into a guzzler?
Yeah.
Right.
You get splashed in a kayak.
Like you get splashed in a kayak, or like what's the other one? I don't know. I've never been to Disneyland.
Oh.
There's Real Mouse Outdoors.
Legoland.
Or whatever. Or Legoland. You like to build stuff? Cool. Guzzler projects.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Or like talk about the Illinois Youth Expo. Talk about what happened out there with the crawdads.
Oh man.
Dude, that was that was life changing for my kids. My kids are already dirty feet rednecks to the core, and that was life changing for them.
At that particular event what would you call it?
It was a project.
It was a
'cause we
project.
taught kids.
And we had a whole bunch of other different. Who else was out there? The Nevada Trappers Association. They were out there as well.
And Dal was out there.
And it was
Meadow Valley Safari
There you
Club.
go. It was basically like a roundabout for like stations with kids, whether it was hunting, shooting, archery, fishing, and everybody had a station, and then the kids just rotated. And one of the kids, it was Oliver. You remember him? His mom, she had never done anything, and she's trying, and she loves it. She's coming out, she's helping now. She's single mom, kid, great kid. But that particular one was like her first thing that she was out there, and she was like, "Have you seen my kid? Have you seen my kid?" And he was just out and about with all the rest of the kids.
Right.
But there was a bunch of crawdads out there
Yeah.
that they were catching. Like people, they were catching trout and had them on the stringer, and the crawdads were just all over them. So we were like, "Let's eat them." And so I was out there purging them, and he was like, "You don't have to purge them." I was like, "Yes, you do."
That wasn't me. That was some guy out of Ely taught us.
That was some-
But yeah,
What?
I was taught the night before. But go ahead. Yeah.
So at the end of the day, we broke it down, and we literally had these kids out there and deveining them, cooking them, throwing them on just straight up on the rocks and then on the coals, and then eating them right there with their hands. I made a sauce for them,
Yeah.
and everybody was like, "Yeah."
Yeah.
And it
Rydell
was fun
made
too.
in the middle of nowhere a garlic butter dip and sauce for lobster tails. And the kids went nuts. It was almost like watching them pick blueberries.
Wow.
Like they were picking them out of the creek and coming right up to the fire, deveining them, throwing them on the fire, cracking them open, dipping them in Rydell sauce, and eating them, and going back to get another one.
Yeah.
You realize we're going to take a lot of heat about this whole deveining thing. It's such a debate, right? And I love mud bugs. And do you devein them? Do you don't? Do you purge them? Do you don't? All I know is I enjoy them. So I'll eat them anyway somebody cooks them. But yeah, I mean, with the kids going out there and catching the crawdads, I got to witness last year we were doing a guzzler
Oh my
for
gosh.
antelope. Was that in Tonopah?
Yeah, Tonopah.
So I'm cooking dinner for everybody, and I think it was Xander that came up to me and goes, "You got a frog gigging stick?" No, but we'll make one. Why? There's a bunch of frogs right in this pond right here. So we made some stuff off. 20 minutes later, these kids come back with 10 frogs?
Nice.
With
Nice.
homemade sticks.
With homemade sticks, and I put headlights
Lord of the
on them,
Flies.
and they spent all night just terrorizing these frogs, and they were killing them. And again, these are techniques that they're learning from people like us,
Yeah.
that are part of WHIN, and Dad's turning them on to it, and then we're cooking them. We're not just killing stuff. These kids
Yeah.
are learning how to cook food and eat them.
Another thing too is I can't tell you how many times I've seen the Nevada Big Game Forum, right? Somebody draws a tag and then they're like, "Where are the deer in this zone?" Right?
Mhm.
Versus like, "Hey, there's crawdads in this pond. How do we get them? There's frogs in this pond.
Yep.
How do I make a gig?" Right? So instead of going out and finding where the animals are and then figuring out how to get them, right? People are they want it too easy,
Well,
So-
that's where we're kind of are right now. Because everything's like right here, right there,
Yeah.
instantaneous.
Exactly, right? But to that person that's listening that finds this podcast and you've never done conservation work before, go. You will find more animals because you will be exposed to things that
Yeah.
you did not plan on being exposed to.
Yeah, talk about that in the aspect of how you run a networking group and how much of a networking group WHIN is for people that like to chase game.
Yeah, so just a little bit of my background. I do own a real estate company, but I also am a co-owner of a business-to-business networking group, right? So we teach a lot of business owners like, hey, look, you're going to need favors in business that you can't just pay for, right?
Mhm.
Like there's certain things that you can only pay for on street credit, right?
Right.
It's just how it works. It's how the world works. And so you're going to want to have that credit built up before you need the favor, right? So you
Yeah.
got to go out there, you got to build relationships. You can't just be begging for customers because that's what everybody does when they network. But you got to go out there and you got to take people to coffee and you got to get to know them, right? Same thing with WHIN, right? You can't just show up, right? In a comment section, just be like, "Hey, Nick, right? Saw your successful video. You got a limit. Can I go duck hunt with you?" Nick's gonna be like, "Who are you?" Right? But if I ask Nick to go hunting, he still might say no. But if I ask Nick to go hunting, right?
And I'm putting you on the X.
Yeah,
My X.
yeah. If I ask this Nick to go hunt, like we've done projects together. He knows my work ethic. He knows my style of doing things. Right. We've built a friendship over the years. Right. He knows that I've got skin in the game when it comes to the overall success in Nevada, and vice versa. I know that Nick's got skin in the game, overall success in Nevada. Nick talked about striper fishing, and he hit me up. Right. He was like, dude, I know you're a fanatic when it comes to striper, because that's like, outside of hunting, I'm actually a fisherman. I'm a fisherman. I do enjoy hunting.
And he's good at it.
I'm a fisherman. Like, that's what I do, right? And so when Nick hit me up, I'm like, dude, let's get into it. But I've had people reach out online. They see successful video and they want to know my spot. But I'm like, sorry, I'm not going to give you that spot. Like, you don't have skin in the game,
Yeah.
To speak to what you just said, I had an experience that happened to where Veronica had gotten a tag, and it was mule deer and it was archery, and we like to hunt for meat. I'm not paying for one of these mounts for $1,000. I'm not going to do it. I'll Euro it myself. I'm good to go. And we weren't going to really hunt that hard because our freezers were full. And then I got a message on Facebook, and I was like, yeah, who is this? I didn't know who it was. And then I started asking around, and all of you guys know him. I don't want to say his name here, but everybody knew him, and he had been asking around about me. He goes, what's your plan for that unit? That's the unit that I hunt. And I was like, oh, we're just going to go. We're going to count this as like a scouting one in case we ever get this unit again. And if we get a chance to get something, we get something. And he goes, okay. He goes, this is where you're going to go. He sent me his drop pins. He said, don't shoot these two because I have clients coming up. And then all the other pictures, I was like, I don't even shoot any of those other ones because they were huge. Right. And I didn't ask for that. I didn't do anything besides helping other people out and just being authentic.
Yeah,
I guess you could say. And I'm extremely grateful to him for that. So,
yeah.
And it goes exactly what you were just saying.
I call it my WHIN filter because I'll take anybody out. Like I will, and it's burnt me a few times. Like you're up there, you're out duck hunting to the end of the day, and you're picking up all the decoys by yourself, and the guy left after an hour of being out there hunting. You're like, what did I get myself into? Sure. Right? Yeah. And you're like, man. Or I had this one guy point guns at me the whole time we were out hunting. Like it wasn't his fault. He was short and we were in a blind. He kept spinning.
Wasn't me.
No.
You described a metro training facility / short guy.
Shorter than you. But like you don't know like those situations you get yourself into. But if you go out and you're on projects with people and you can kind of like feel them out, you know how they are, man. And then they're not going to leave you stranded at the end of the day. Yeah. They're going to pick up the decoys. Like Davin's the only guy that can out hunt me. He's the only guy that I can't run into the mud. We come close. Right. I almost got him once, but but you get a kind of a feel for the type of people and like you said, the authentic people, and you're so grateful to be able to have that filter.
Yeah. Let's talk about some of the fun stuff. I mean, listen, the conservation lifestyle is a fun thing for folks like me. Not everybody. So go ahead.
No, before you get into that, this is supposed to be our intro session. We've talked about a lot of different people that are going to be coming here. We've talked about a lot of the projects, what WHIN is going to be doing. We're going to be continuing on more with that.
Right.
And you just brought up some of the fun stuff. Could you talk about the Ducks for Donuts?
I can. I can.
Oh, they're great to chum ducks in with. You throw the donuts out there, they come in.
Have you seen
the Transu donuts? They like what is the Transu duck like?
He likes Boston cream, and they've got to be the chocolate covered ones, right?
Have you seen the Elon Musk meme where it's like if you throw a handful of corn in your decoy spread, you got 1,000% chance of winning out, right?
Look that up, Jamie. Okay,
look that up, Jamie.
Go ahead, talk. I'll look up.
Go ahead. So the Ducks and Donuts project was something that was originated by WHIN. I know, and Dow also does one, and it was, I don't have children, so I don't have skin in the game on that one. But somebody approached me and mentioned it, being a waterfowl hunter, hey, maybe your experience could benefit these kids. I went out the first time, I barely knew Ron. And I saw the event they put on at Overton Wildlife Management Area, which is a state-run management area. So the kids were in a very controlled environment, very safe, and they had a bunch of mentors. And it was fun as heck. Whether the kids shot ducks or not, they were out there with mentors, their own family. I mean, we had parents that don't duck hunt.
Yeah.
But the kid wants to go with his friend that duck hunts. Mitchell's one friend.
Beck,
right? That kid had me laughing. So here I am at the time, I'm like 53 years old, and I've got these young teenagers in the blind. And all of a sudden, Mitchell says, "Hey, you hungry?" Always hungry. Look at me, I'm fat. The kid whips out, he has oysters, potato chips, barbecue potato chips, hot sauce, and crackers. What's not to love about this? This kid packed himself some snacks after eating 16 donuts to have out in the blind, and we
Yeah.
laughed so
Yeah.
hard when we shot some birds. And I was running a different dog at the time, another golden retriever that I had put down about a year ago, Reagan May, and the kids just with the dog in the blind, just it was so much fun for an adult like me. Not an educator, but what do you call me? A mentor. For you. That was better than me ever pulling the trigger.
Yeah.
Watching these kids have fun in the blind, whether the birds were flying or not. We got to talk a lot about gun safety because we had 4 people in the blind. And you got to be aware of that. It was so enjoyable for me as an older hunter. I told Ron, I said, "You've got me every year," and he's had me every year for that. And similar to the carp rodeo, watching those kids try to catch those carp down there, how do you not have fun?
Yeah, and we put them to work too.
Yeah,
we put some adults to work that didn't know how to clean a fish.
Yeah,
so that's what it's about.
Right. We just did. Las Vegas Metropolitan Police Department had a fishing event in April of this year that I'd seen on Facebook, where they called Cops and Bobbers. Never heard of it, even while I was working for Metro and I was stationed down in Laughlin. So I reached out to them, said, "Hey, my nonprofit would like to partake in that, provide some fishing poles." Well, we were originally told there were going to be 10 kids. It was a spring break weekend for them. And the day before, they called and says, "Hey, we got 60 kids." So now we're running around, we're trying to buy fishing poles and things of that nature. And those purchases come out of when we do our banquet and we're making money at the banquet. All that's getting put right back into the state of Nevada, our future kids. I went out there and watched these kids fish along the Colorado River and laughed my butt off. It was so fun and the weather was perfect. But then there was another way for WHIN to be involved in the kids and worked with a law enforcement agency to the point where our sheriff, Kevin Mayhew, came up to me and said, "What is this about? What is this WHIN?" And I explained to him. He bought a table at our banquet because of what we did. So he donated personally to WHIN. That's how it works for us.
Yeah, and Endow gave you a huge shout out too for that day. They had a picture of you and everything down there.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, they did it for you and did it for Papa Gaudette as well. So they had pictures. He didn't know about it either. I was like, they didn't tell you? Well, he's out there in the world.
Yeah, no, it's events like that that are just when it comes to the kids. We're not all about the work. The work has to happen if we're gonna be sustainable in the state of Nevada for whatever animal you're chasing, from fish to bighorn sheep to ducks. Your skin's in the game. Yeah. It could be one weekend of the year. Doesn't matter. It helps everybody out, and then your kids are getting out in the outdoors where they would probably never see in their lifetime because of what we have to be when it comes to the work. And then when we do these fun events, man, they can be close to home.
Yeah, both are important because the fun events do great outreach. We were talking about getting burned, inviting random people into the blind, right, or whatever we're doing in life, right. But this is the time to go out and create an event specifically for those new people that have never caught a fish, right? Because I'm totally game with watching somebody catch the fishing fever or catch the duck fever, whatever it is. I'm game for that. What I'm not game is for an entitlement attitude, right? So you get the exposure of, let's just say 60 people go to an event. Well, not everybody's going to enjoy it, but you find the 5 or 10 that are really into it. And you're like, hey, there's more to do, right? And so now you have help, right? Now you have more volunteers at your next event where there might be a lot of work,
right?
So they both are important. They both feed on each other. You can't party all the time, right?
No.
And we can't just do work all the time because those who burn out your volunteers,
right?
So
let's talk about partying all the time, though.
Party all the time, party all the time.
How does WHIN make its money?
Throw
the biggest party of the year.
Yeah, so if you don't like the outdoors, you don't like hunting or fishing, but you like to party, we throw a rager.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with partying, right? But
Yeah.
it can't just for me. It can't be all the time because I'm.
We're not talking about you right now.
Yeah, no.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But
we're
for the
talking.
people who
We're
wanna
talking about
party,
people
yeah.
that want to spend their
It's
money
okay.
to help us.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, you should come to our party.
Yeah, we should come to our party.
Well, speaking of coming to our party, this party should be coming to an end.
Hold
right
on, I want to
about
talk.
now.
I want
You
to
wanna
address
talk about
one thing. I
something?
just want to address one more thing that's going to happen in the WHIN podcast
Okay.
about the banquet
Go ahead.
and the people that come to the banquet.
Yeah.
One more thing we're going to address in the WHIN podcast is at this banquet of 900 people. We have tons of hunts that are given away and tons of interesting sponsors and tons of people that come and help. We're going to highlight those people on this podcast. So when you show up to the banquet, you're like, hey, what's this Namibian hunt in Africa?
Mm-hmm.
Did you know it was a Dutch town off the coast of Africa where you could sport fish and hunt at the same time? I didn't know that. Yeah, that seems really appealing. Or let's talk about the Lafayette pheasant hunt. You know, all inclusive hunt for 4 people. You get 15 birds a day. Like those things where you don't know all the details. Like,
Yeah.
About some of the trips that incorporated could be a husband wife and go somewhere without hunting or fishing.
oh
Oh
yeah.
yeah, they had the Ireland one
Right,
this year.
we had a couple of
Yeah.
trips like that.
Oh, we could bring the teeters in that bought it and talk about that. Yeah.
Mhm.
So those are things that we're gonna hit in this podcast too. So like look forward to those. It's not gonna be all about hunting and fishing. It may be talking about a trip that was at the banquet, so you know the details of that trip coming up. So sorry, Reggie, I just wanted to plug that real quick.
I was actually going to go around the table and say if anybody had any last thing you wanted to say.
Yeah, starting. I'll have something by the time you come back.
Well, why don't you kick it off?
I'm gonna end it.
You want it? Okay.
Yeah.
You go ahead and kick it off.
Yeah, Mr. D.
Oh man, something that I want to say. You know what? Like I think like when it comes to like your time, right? Like my time has gotten more. I think it happens to everybody as they get older, right? They get more responsibilities, so their time becomes more scarce.
Mm-hmm.
But what I realized is that like there's no way that I could be like a dad just going out on the weekends like 3 or 4 times a year and consistently like fill all my big game tags. Like there's no way it would happen, right?
Mhm.
Like having a network of people that know where the animals are is way more efficient than going out 20 weekends out of the year to fill one tag.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? To know where the biggest one is, or like whatever your goal is with filling your tag, or just getting lucky. A lot of people just go out there and get lucky. So you can really like reduce the luck factor just by networking. It's not just getting pulled out of the mud when you get stuck. Yeah, if you want to be consistently on game, like just that's the thing to do. I think that's my main thing is like just your time management. Like being in conservation will help you with your time management.
Well, for our sheep hunt this year, you came out
Yeah.
with us, and it was basically like we were scouting for each other. It was like, hey, this is where we saw something. Hey, here's a Onyx, not Onyx. What are we using now? Go hunt.
Go
Here's
hunt.
a go hunt. Like, so, and you came in, you killed on the first weekend. You got you harvested.
I was in range on the first weekend. I passed up a mid 160s ram on the first day of the hunt.
Yeah.
Now this is another thing. I didn't have the opportunity to learn how to score sheep. So like if you do drop I'll learn from my experience. If you do draw a bighorn sheep tag, take the time and like instead of spending those days in the field scouting, like go into the NDOW office, look at some sheep, bring a tape measure, right? Learn how to score sheep. Because if I had known that was a midwest, because I showed a picture to somebody, because I got that close. I took a picture of it, walked away, right? Showed a picture to somebody, and they're like, "You just passed up on like a really big ram." I'd go back and kill him.
That that's valuable,
but it is valuable
Yeah.
information, But I did have one spot that I didn't have to check out, and I knew he wasn't. After that person saw him, they were like, "Yeah, he's 100% not Boone and Crockett. He's probably just a little bit shy." And this was somebody who was good at judging sheep, right? I was like, okay, well, I'm looking for a booner, in that first week. So went out and then found one with thicker bases, and again, same thing, novice, right? Don't know how to measure the balance between length and girth, right? So took him, but still got a very nice mature animal.
There you go.
From people's input onto my hunt. Yeah.
What are you doing?
Yeah. So, but yeah, I was on sheep pretty much every day. But yeah, same thing. Like your wife had a U tag, right? I had a ram tag, so we're not really competing against each other. So we might as well hunt as a team. And then share information and knowledge in it. It made my hunt a lot easier. Yeah.
There you go.
That is nice.
Yeah.
All right, Mr. Nicholas.
I go. I
You
got
wanna
it.
go?
I
You
got
ready?
it.
You ready?
Yeah. I'm just I'm grateful for the people at WHIN. From the volunteers that like help raise my kids, to the people that come to the banquet and spend their hard-earned money. Like there's different ways to be a member of WHIN, but it will benefit you. And so, make time for it. When I think about the biggest excuse people don't have to be out in the outdoors or don't have time to join at conservation projects is I made a different thing, a different plan, or I don't have time. I think it's a good thing to make time for, especially if you're raising kids or if you just want to, like, if you feel like you're missing something in your life or your mental health or things of that nature. Like, I'm grateful for WHIN. So that's all
Right.
I got.
Nice.
Ron, you mentioned bringing your family into it. Like you spend more time in the woods when your family's on board, right?
Yeah.
Right. I mean,
Well, I won't go anywhere without my family.
exactly. So I mean,
I'll go less places. I'm
Yeah.
here without them.
Yeah. So I mean, we've all brought guys out into the woods, and they're like, they get that text and they're like, "Oh, when are we wrapping up?" It's like we're supposed to be out here all day,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Like, if your family's not on board, like if you're getting into mule deer hunting, if your family's not on board with you doing what you're doing, if you don't have that support like system like on board with what you're doing, you're not going to fill your tag consistently.
Yeah.
It's just not going to happen.
And the family can come and help out with those banquets too. That
Exactly.
happens all the time. These kids are getting responsibility. They're out there being responsible on the floor.
And so you have something in the off season, right, to
Mhm.
keep your support system involved in what you want to do. And then also, sometimes your family gets involved. Like my wife got into hunting, and fishing because like year round we're doing stuff related to the outdoors.
Got
So,
it.
just wanted to build off Ron's comment there.
Muy
He had
bien.
a great one. Couldn't let it go.
Yeah.
All right.
Wrapping up, WHIN in a nutshell for me. It's a utility knife for me. From the quality of people that are out here doing the conservation lifestyle that we're all addicted to. We all love to hunt and fish, but there's only so many days that you can do that based on your lifestyle, your work schedule, your family life. In all reality, the average hunter only gets to spend about 15 days a year pursuing his passion because of his lifestyle, work, whatever. I'm lucky enough to be retired, so I get to do as much as I want. WHIN gave me another outlet, a team outlet. I come from a very tight, played baseball, then turned around and was a narcotics detective. I come from a very tight-knit team atmosphere. This gives me that. And life of service to my community, it helps me with that too. It goes back to the utility knife for me. It serves all my needs personally. And I'm just not a consumptive user. I'm giving back to the conservation lifestyle that I dedicated myself to years ago. Nothing wrong being a consumptive user. It happens. Not everybody's got the time that we all do, but this gives me that outlet. And I love the people and I love the kids that are involved in this because they're our future. Whether you want to believe it or not, we're recruiting our future of hunting and fishing. And this does it for us. That's where I'm going to end it.
Good job. I'll say this in closing. For me, WHIN is another outlet that allows me to be able to continue to touch different people and pass on things that my grandma taught me and how I grew up. And so instead of it just staying within the family, I'm able to touch others and give that little negative wisdom here, that little negative, oh, you can try it this way there. And so it's a way for, I guess, for my clan to sort of still live on the other side of the country. So,
Thanks, buddy.
thank you guys.
Yeah.
Well, that was it. It was good to leave on. If you guys want to join WHIN, look us up, WHIN LV. You can Google my name, Rydell Danzy. Email me. I'll get with you. Everybody pretty much here, you'll be able to get a hold of them. And come on out and try something. It's a win-win. And so, Davin, how can people reach you?
You can reach me at In Season Nevada on YouTube.
Gotcha. Ron?
You can reach me at winlv.org. No, I don't know.
That's a good place to reach him, though, winlv.org.
Yeah.
You'll find him.
My phone number is
No.
555.
Well, what about Battleborn Duckers?
Oh,
you
yeah.
can reach me at Battleborn Duckers. So
Battleborn Duckers. There you go. What about you, Mr. Marsh?
You can reach me at Marsh Addiction with 2 N's and a V, NV, at gmail.com. Marsh Addiction NV at gmail.com.
You're on Instagram too.
I am on Instagram.
On the gram.
On the
Message
gram
you.
under Marsh Addiction. Yes, I am. Thank you.
And as for me, my name's Rydell Danzy. You can find me at Phil the Grill, aka F2G. Go ahead, come out with us at WHIN. It's a win-win situation. And remember, conservation is a lifestyle.
Amen to that.
Thanks.